talk to you today about the differences between adopting a shelter pet or buying from a breeder. I'm sure you have all seen the commercial from the ASPCA of how many animals are left outside in the elements, whether it be rain, snow, the heat, how many get abused each day, how many are left to starve, how many are just left at the house when people move, and they all get taken to shelters where their fate is probably going to be euthanization because there are so many pets in the shelters right now. With the breeders, there are some good breeders, and then there are the breeders who just don't give a crap and are out to make the money. And those are the types who breed these dogs that they can't walk anymore, leave them in cages that they can't move around. They just put them out, breed them, they have their puppies, and they bring them back in, and that's the end of it. There's the breeders the reputable breeders who actually do take care of the mother and the father of the dogs. And I mean, the breeders, the good breeders are going to charge you a decent amount of money to pay for their dogs because they do take care of them. And that's the difference between buying a shelter pet and a breeder. From a breeder, the shelter, you're going to get them neutered already. They're going to come vaccinated. They're going to come microchipped. You might not know all of their background because a lot of people don't tell the history or their stories when they're brought into the shelter. The breeder might have the mother there, or will have the mother there, might not have the father there, rather. Even a breeder, are you going to trust somebody? You have to be able to actually physically see the mother and the dog before you buy it. And they're going to charge you an arm and a leg. As for a shelter, they're not going to charge you as much. They might charge you a little more if you're going to buy a purebred at the shelter, as for instead of buying a mixed breed or a mutt, as we would call it. If there's the website Rescue Bridge in Bensalem, that's specifically for cats. They take all cats. They're a no-kill shelter. If you do have to go surrender an animal, one of your pets to a shelter, take it to a no-kill. They'll keep them until they can find either a foster, which is a person who's just going to keep the dog till it can be adopted, or they'll just keep it. And they can transfer them to shelter. If you want to foster an animal, which is if you're not sure you want to keep it, you can do that for however long you want to do it. Most of the shelters will provide you with medication if they need it. Some will pay you to take it to foster a dog or a cat. Some will even give you the food or bedding. They'll do anything they can to get these animals homes and shut down these puppy mills, shut down the breeders that are abusing these poor animals, because who cares? And that's the thought of today. Who cares? It's an animal. Well, until that stops, the shelters are going to be filled to the brim, and then they have to kill these poor innocent animals that have they shouldn't be dead because somebody stupid wants to buy from a breeder. There are people who have to have a certain dog. Like one of my nieces is allergic to cats. She can get a hairless cat. Or if you're allergic to dog hair, you can buy dogs that have short hair. And there's cats that do come that you can get that don't have the dander that you're allergic to. But it's just it's the people who buy what kind of dog would they buy? Either a pit bull. You go on any website. I was on websites this morning looking around. I was looking in from Jersey, Mount Holly shelters, Tom's River shelters, all the shelters. All you see are pit bulls. Why are there so many pit bulls? Because these people buy them for a status. I'm cool, I have a pit bull. Yeah, and then that poor thing goes into the shelter and ends up getting killed. Because they have to have a pit bull. And they're buying them from breeders. And they're not cheap. Now, there are people who have to have or want to buy a status symbol like the teacup dogs and carry them around in their pocketbook. No, you don't have to do that. It's not cool to carry your dog around in a pocketbook. You know, dogs are supposed to be on leashes. Another reason they go to shelters because people can't commit to raising them or the responsibility of taking them outside. That's why there's just too many animals in the shelter. Now, if we could get rid of, not even get rid of the breeders, get rid of the bad breeders, yes, but keep, you know, the breeders who are reputable, the ones who have show dogs, the people who buy show dogs, that's fine, because at least these dogs are getting rewarded and they're not treated like crap. Adopt, they spay and neuter, they microchip, you're done. A breeder, you get your dog, your responsible for having the dog neutered. If you want the dog microchipped, you have to pay all for that. You go to the shelter, they do it for you. They vaccinate. They get the rabies. They check for heartworm. They do flea dipping. If you can't afford to have your dog taken care of at the shelter, or if there's an illness, the shelter will do it for free or low cost. You go to a breeder, they're going to say, okay, here's your receipt, you're done, that's it. You want to be strapped with that? Wouldn't you rather just be able to say, you know, go to the shelter and they'll take care of you? And, you know, that's it in a nutshell. You have to, and even if you adopt a pet from a shelter and it doesn't work out, say you buy a dog or adopt a dog and the dog just isn't a perfect fit, the shelter will take it back without question. Will a breeder? I doubt it. Breeder's going to say you're done. I sold you the dog, that's your problem. You can go get take it to a shelter. That's what the breeder's going to tell you if you can't deal with it. So, there's my point. There's the thing. You go to the shelter, you get your pick. It comes microchipped, blah, blah, blah. You go to the breeder, you're responsible to have all that done. You go to the shelter, there's one less dog that's being euthanized, or one less cat that's being euthanized, and take it from me, we got one from the shelter. And I'll tell you, you can't, people are going to look at you and say, oh, you know, they don't know. The cat knows, the dog knows. When they're out of that shelter and they can sense that they're free and they're not behind bars anymore, they know. And it's the best feeling in the world knowing that you're saving a life, whether it be a cat, a dog, a hamster, a bird, whatever. You're saving it. Thank you for listening.
Yay! Let's go get a cat!